Hey, what's up you guys, it's Dorothy and welcome back to my channel. In today's video we're going to go into part 3 of the Julian chapter of Auggie and Me by R.J. Palacio, so let's get right into this video. This video may contain sensitive topics and foul language. If you do not wish to continue, I suggest you click off the video now. You have been warned. First, look, I'm not going to go into detail about the rest of what happened that day. I'm just going to point out that the first time in his life, Jack had not exaggerated. In fact, he had done the opposite. Is there a word that means the opposite of exaggerated? Unexaggerated? I don't know, but Jack had totally not exaggerated about the kid's face. The first look I got of August, well, it made me want to cover my eyes and run away screaming. Bam! I know that sounds mean and I'm sorry about that, but it's the truth. And anyone who says that that's not their first reaction when singing August Pullman isn't being honest. Seriously. I totally would have walked out of the door after I saw him, but I knew I would get in trouble if I did. So I just kept looking at Mr. Tushman and tried to listen to what he was saying, but all I heard was yak, 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 because my ears were burning. In my head, I was like, dude, 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 dude. I think I said the word 1,000 times to myself. I don't know why. At some point, he introduced us to Auggie. I think I actually shook his hand. Triple I wanted to zoom out of there so fast and wash my hand, but before I knew what was happening, we were headed out the door, down the hallway, and up the stairs. Dude, 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 dude. I caught Jack's eye as we were going up the stairs to homeroom. I opened my eyes really wide at him and mouthed the words, "No way." Jack mouthed back, "I told you." Scared. When I was about 5, I remember watching an episode of SpongeBob one night and a commercial came on TV that totally freaked me out. It was a few days before Halloween. A lot of commercials came out during that time of the year, were kind of scary, but this one, for a new teen thriller I never heard about before. Suddenly, when I was watching the commercial, a close-up of a zombie's face popped up on the screen. Well, it totally and completely terrified me. I mean, terrified me, like the kind of terrified where you actually run out of the room screaming with your arms in the air. Terrified. After that, I was so scared of seeing that zombie face again, I stopped watching any TV until Halloween was over, and the movie was no longer playing in theaters. Seriously, I stopped watching TV completely. That's how scared I was. Not too long after that, I was on a playdate with some kid whose name I don't even remember, and this kid was really into Harry Potter, so we started watching one of the Harry Potter movies. I'd never seen any of them before. Well, when I saw Voldemort's face for the first time, the same thing happened that had happened at the Halloween commercial came on. I started screaming hysterically, wailing like a total baby. It was so bad the kid's mother couldn't calm me down, and she had to call my mother to come and pick me up. My mom got really annoyed at the kid's mom for letting me watch the movie, so they ended up getting into an argument, and long story short, I never had another playdate there again. But anyway, between the Halloween zombie commercial and Voldemort's noseless face, I was kind of a mess. Then, unfortunately, my dad took me to the movies at around the same time. Again, I was only about 5, maybe 6 by now. It shouldn't have been an issue. The movie we went to see was rated G, totally fine, not scary at all, but one of the trailers that had come on was for Scary Fairy, a movie about demon fairies. I know, fairies are so lame, and when I look back, I can't believe I was so scared of this stuff, but I freaked out at this trailer. My dad had to take me out of the theater because, yet again, I couldn't stop crying. It was so embarrassing. I mean, being scared of fairies? What's next? Flying ponies? Cabbage Patch dolls? Snowflakes? It was crazy. But there I was, shaking and screaming as I left the movie theater, hiding my face in my dad's coat. I'm sure there were 3-year-olds in the audience who were looking at me like I was the biggest loser. That's the thing about being scared, though. You can't control it. When you're scared, and when you're scared, everything seems scarier than it ordinarily would be, even things that aren't. Everything that scares you kind of mushes together and becomes this big, terrifying feeling. That's like you've covered in this blanket of fear, and this blanket is made out of broken glass and dog poop and oozy pus and bloody zombie zits. I started having awful nightmares every night. I'd wake up screaming. It got to the point where I was afraid to go to sleep because I didn't want to have another nightmare, so then I started sleeping in my parents' bed. I wish I could say this was just for a couple of nights, but it went like this for 6 weeks. I wouldn't let them turn off the lights. I had a panic attack every time I started drifting off to sleep. I mean, my palms would literally start to sweat and my heart would start to race, and I'd start to cry and scream before going to bed. My parents took me to see a feelings doctor, which I only later realized was called a child psychologist. Dr. Patel helped me a little bit. She said what I was experiencing were night terrors, and it did help me to talk about them with her, but I think what really got me over the nightmares were the Discovery Channel nature videos my mom brought home for me one day. Woohoo! For those nature videos, every night we'd pop one on the into the DVD player, and I'd fall asleep to the sound of some guy with an English accent talking about meerkats or koalas or jellyfish. Eventually, I did get over the nightmares, though. Everything went back to normal, but every once in a while, I'd have what Mom would call a minor setback. Like, for instance, although I love Star Wars now, the very first time I saw Star Wars Episode 2, which was at a birthday party sleepover when I was 8, I had to text my mom to come get me at 2 a.m. because I couldn't fall asleep. Every time I closed my eyes, Darth Sidious's face would pop into my head. It took about 3 weeks of nature videos to get over that setback, and I stopped going to sleepovers for about a year after that. Then, when I was 9, I saw Lord of the Rings, The Two Towers, for the first time, and the same thing happened to me again, though this time it only took me about a week to get over Gollum. By the time I turned 10, though all the nightmares had pretty much gone away, even the fear of having a nightmare was gone by then too. Like, it was at Henry's house, and he would say, "Hey, let's watch a scary movie." My first reaction wasn't to think, no, I might have a nightmare, which is what it used to be. My first reaction would be like, yeah, cool, where's the popcorn? I finally started being able to see all kinds of movies again. I even started getting into zombie apocalypse stuff, and none of it ever bothered me. The nightmare stuff was all behind me, or at least I thought it was. But then the night after I met Auggie Pullman, I started having nightmares again. I couldn't believe it. Not just passing bad dreams, but the full-blown, heart-pounding, wake-up screaming kind of nightmares I used to have when I was a little kid. Only I wasn't a little kid anymore. I was in the 5th grade, 11 years old. This wasn't supposed to be happening to me anymore, but there I was again, watching nature videos to help me fall asleep. That is the end of this section. I will see you guys in the next video for part 4 of the Julian chapter. Bye!